Yes. Good morning, everyone. It's about a little bit about this webinar series, Outside In. This has been going on since the lockdown. And for the first few talks, we've been taking through different topics in ecology. And this is meant for young adults, high school students, and also not so young adults. Many people have been attending these talks online. And after taking through different topics, what we have started doing since September is to dwell on one topic for a month. And so in that respect, I have had Professor Umar Ramakrishnan co-host a month on biodiversity. And then I've had Dr. Deepa Agashe co-host with me on the topic of microbes. And this month, we are having this topic on freshwater ecosystems, ably co-hosted by Dr. Samir Pade of the Biologia Life Sciences. Unfortunately, today he's traveling, but I think next week he will join. Yes, so to begin with, Samir had weaved around a nice series of talks to this month. And to begin with, we have Dr. Aravind Madhyastha with us today. Welcome to Aravind. He is from ATREE, which stands for Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and the Environment. And he has been serving as a senior fellow for the past 22 years. Before that, he was trained in Mangalore University in the area of snails in the Western Ghats. And subsequently, he has been showing commitment on freshwater ecology and conservation, and also the associated data mining that comes with it. So with this introduction to the speaker, may I request Aravind to start off his talk, please.
Yeah. Thank you, madam, and thank you, Samir and others for inviting me to give this talk. It's my pleasure to share my work on freshwater molluscs of the Western Ghats. So I'll share my screen now. Okay, is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'll be talking about freshwater molluscs of the Western Ghats. So before actually get into the topic of freshwater molluscs of the Western Ghats, I would like to start with this picture. As we all most of us, when we are kids, or even now, when we go to the seashore, we collect these shells, either a gastropod shells or a clams, or sometime the exoskeletons of crustaceans and so on and so forth. And these shells, it attracts us because of its colorful nature and various shapes and forms and sizes. And if you pick up a handful of sand along with the shell debris, you can see hundreds of micro shells in that sand debris. It's not only larger shell, but also there are smaller shells. These shells, which is mollusk, contribute to other 97% of the biodiversity. In whether it's in India or any other parts of the world, most of our research and conservation and education, for that matter, is concentrated on the 3% of vertebrates, be it a tiger, elephant, rhino, or large birds like bustard or florican, and so on and so forth. Disproportionately large number of studies and large number of funding and researchers uh, generally study 3% of vertebrates because they are so-called, within inverted commas, charismatic. But there are other 97% of the biodiversity which dominates the earth. Out of this 97 percent, arthropods, as you all know, is the dominant taxa, contributing more than 80% of the biodiversity. Other smaller phyla contribute 11%, and the second largest phylum after arthropoda is the phylum Mollusca, which contributes something 7% to the Earth's biodiversity. Interesting thing about these mollusks are they are found in marine environment, deep in the ocean, to terrestrial, to the freshwater environment. You can see as high as 5,000 to 6,000 meter altitude mountains in the cold desert kind of a thing. You can see the mollusks. They have got such a wide distribution in terms of the habitat in what they occur. So, mollusk basically means soft-bodied. It has got internals very soft body, the animal which is inside the shell. Sometimes the shells are inside the animal body, like squids or octopus, or in majority of the cases, the shells are outside and the soft body will be inside. There are 7 orders of mollusks. Almost all of them are found in the marine environment, but the terrestrial is represented only by gastropoda. Gastropoda means the leg on its stomach, because the gastros means stomach, poda means the foot. When there's during the developmental stage, the embryo undergoes torsion or a twisting, thus bringing the lower part into the anterior part, and so on and so forth. It is a very high developmental biological research aspect. So in terrestrial environment, you can see only gastropods, whereas in freshwater environment, you can see bivalves, that is clams, what is generally eaten along the coastal areas, and gastropods. So there are various estimates of number of species of mollusks on this earth. There are 1 lakh described species, and experts believe that there may be 2 to 3 lakhs of more to be described. So coming to the terrestrial and freshwater environment, so that the mollusk in this environment may not be as colorful or as charismatic as marine ones, but still there are very, very interesting biologically, ecologically, and biogeographically in this environment, given the geological history of the earth. According to the expert, there may be around 65,000 species of freshwater mollusks, or nearly 70,000, of which only 25,000 have been described in the terrestrial environment. On the other hand, in the freshwater environment, there may be around 20,000 species, of which 6,000 have been named till now. There's still a lot of potential for new discoveries in this non-marine habitat, where these groups occur. So these freshwater and terrestrial mollusks, both bivalve and gastropoda, evolved as around 400 million years back. That's around Devonian. Bivalve probably much later, around Permian. They are much, much older than the most of the vertebrates what you see around us. So these are really, really old lineages, and thus deserve to be studied and conserved. And there are got other important aspects of ecosystem services what they provide to the humans, starting from food for humans to nutrient cycling to medicines, have been isolated from both mostly gastropods and some from bivalve. They provide a lot of services to human well-being. So generally, when I give talk, one question will be asked: how many species are there in India? How many of them are endemic? So and so forth. So in India, till now, we know 210 species from the freshwater environment, out of which there's a typo error. It's around 60%, 40 to 60% endemic, and in the terrestrial environment, around 80% endemic. Sorry about the typo there. So there are 1,225 species in the terrestrial environment and 201 in the freshwater environment. This constitutes around 5% of global non-marine molluscan diversity occurs in Indian political limit. If you look at this image, this shows the variety of shell forms occurs in the Western Ghats, starting from the green snail to the red one, what we call as Indala ampulla, to a slug, mm, to semi-slug, which are on the lower panel, and so on and so forth. Their shape is very, very distinct, and some of them have got some sort of a hairy kind of a structure on its shell, and nobody knows why do they have that kind of structure on their shell. The diversity ranges from 0.2 or 2 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter to almost 15 centimeter. That's a size diversity of size you can see in the non-marine mollusks of the Western Ghats. And this is just to show the type of shells occurs in the terrestrial environment in the Western Ghats, and also the shell ornamentation of the terrestrial snails. All these characters are very, very important if you want to study the taxonomy. They are all these are very small snails, as you can see from the scale bar. They're maximum probably around 5-6 millimeter, and some of them are as small as 1.5 millimeter, and they're mostly found in the soil, and they are really, really tough to identify. And nearly 40% of Western Ghats land snail fauna is constituted by these small micro snails. Coming to the freshwater environment, we don't have much diversity like North America, but still we have very, very interesting groups, of which two I'm going to give in details, but you can see the small on the right side with a black background, which is 2 millimeter or 3 millimeters, called hippitas, found in the freshwater environment, or to an apple snail, which is as big as 10 centimeter. And we have a conical shaped right coil, left coil, all sort of shell shape occurs in the freshwater environment of the Western Ghats. And also we have clams of different shapes and sizes. So why we should study freshwater mollusks of Western Ghats? Because India, as you may be aware, was not in its current position 120 million or 140 million years back. It broke away from Gondwanan supercontinent and moved towards north and hit Eurasian plate around 55 million years ago. And because of its unique journey from south to the north to its current position, it had carried a lot of biota along with it, which is Gondwanan element, and also during its course of journey towards north, undergone a lot of turbulence, like volcanism and so on and so forth. Because of this, a lot of species have gone extinct, and a lot of species have survived through this movement, and several species have came into India either from Southeast Asia or from Africa once Indian plate hit Eurasian plate. So during its course towards north, around 65 million years back, there was volcanic eruption of the coast of Seychelles, and it had impacted Indian region also, what we call as Deccan Trap, which occurred around 65 to 63 million years back. And if you see the Western Ghats above Goa till 21 degree latitude, you can see sandwiched layers, as you can see in the photo. It's like somebody has put mud or the sand over one or the other, And that's a very unique formation that is formed due to the volcanic eruption which took place off the coast of Seychelles. And this has got a very important implication on not only the biodiversity of Indian subcontinent, but also geologically it has created separate different kind of uh, environment. Yeah. And if you look at the Western Ghats and the Northern Western Ghats, which is some sort of a layered, as you can see in the topmost photograph, and in the Central and Southern Western Ghats, it is much more uniform kind of a thing, which is very, very old formation compared to the Northern Western Ghats. Geologically, these two regions have got a different formation. Consequently, it has resulted in the different type of biota. So I'm going to give two examples of freshwater mollusks of the Western Ghats, which are very, very unique, very interesting biogeographically and ecologically. So it's not possible to talk about all the species. I just want to highlight these two. You will appreciate at the end of the talk why we need to conserve this very unique group of organisms. The first one is Pseudomullaria daily, or what we call as freshwater oyster. So this is, you all know about the marine oyster, which is edible and attached to the rocky substratum and which are influenced by the waves in the littoral zones of the coast. But how many of us are aware that there is a oyster in the freshwater environment also? This is the this species is believed to be a Gondwanan relict, belong to a family ATREE, and its closest relatives are found in South America, where there are two genera and two species are reported, and in Central African continent, where one genus and two species have been reported, and in Western Ghats, you can see that small speck, that's its current distribution, and one genus and one species been reported. And this species, which is found in Western Ghats, is called Pseudomullaria daily, described in 1896, and since 1996, nobody has seen this species, and we rediscovered it from the several places in the Karnataka part of the Western Ghats, and they're believed to be more than 120 million years old, much older than your charismatic vertebrate, what you see around us. And this is the only cemented bivalve in this whole of South Asia, and it has been assessed as endangered, and it's also an endemic. As you can see from the lower panel, that's the one stretch of a river with the rocky formation, and in the middle photograph shows the presence of this particular species. You cannot make out, if you just walk on the rocks in the river, you just cannot make out the presence of this species. On the right side is the close-up of the Pseudomullaria or freshwater oyster. It doesn't look like a clam, but it's a clam. The clams are generally has got very nice shape, but this particular clam is got irregular shape because of the attachment to the rock and inside the crevices. So it has become very irregular in shape. And this is the current the distribution, that is the green color here. Right now, it is only known from Tunga and Bhadra river system of the Western Ghats. So, as I told earlier, it has been rediscovered in 1996, attached to the rock. And there are only 5 populations of less than 500 individuals are surviving in the 2 rivers of the Central Western Ghats. The tiger population in India is around 3,000 individual, found from Kerala to the Arunachal Pradesh, and from grassland to evergreen forest, and it occurs in wide range of habitat. On the contrary, pseudomullaria occurs only in these two rivers, that's Tunga and Bhadra in Karnataka, and only 5 population are known, and less than 5,000 individuals are surviving as of now. So these are some of the habitat shots and the close-up shots of the pseudomullaria, and you can see this on the lower left, the cluster of 4 individuals together. On the right side, because of the water fluctuation due to the construction of dam across the Tunga River near Shumaga, the water level fluctuation has resulted in deaths of several individuals of pseudomullaria daily, as you can see on the right side. Since they are attached to the rock, they can't move from that place like other clams or mollusks. Once they get attached, they'll be there till they die. If there is any change in the water level, either too much increase or reduction below the attachment point, will kill this very interesting mollusk. That's what you can see from this photograph. Another interesting aspect of this pseudomullaria is the association of freshwater insect belong to two genera inside the shell of this pseudomullaria. They are the commensals inside the shell. One is Symbiocoleon and the other one is Chloropterus. This has been identified by Dr. Subramanian from Zoological Survey of India, and there are very few known examples from the world. There are 3 or 4 examples of commensalitic association of this insect inside the shell of the clam, and we found 2 such examples inside the pseudomullaria, and nobody knows why this insect is staying inside. What benefit do they acquire from being inside the shell of this clam? We don't have any answers for this. We are trying to understand this in detail, but if this species goes extinct, probably these 2 insect species also might go extinct. So there is a very nice association between insect and a mollusk. Another interesting aspect of pseudomullaria is, they require fish for the completion of life cycle. So the larva of pseudomullaria is called as glochidium. Initially, it will be a free living larvae, but if you want to become matured or metamorphosed, it has to get attached to the fish, either to the gills or to the fins of the gill, and it will be a parasitic stage for some time. Once it is metamorphosed or become once start developing the shell, it will detach itself from the gills and fins of the fish, become independent and get attached to the rock and grows further. So there's a requirement of fish for the completion of life cycle. So this is a very, very interesting. If you indiscriminately harvest fish or collect fish and kill them, you are pushing another species to extinction. So there is a very intricate relationship between presence of fish and the population of survival of pseudomullaria daily in the rivers. So this species, as I told you, is facing severe threat from the poor water quality. There are a lot of washing that takes place. Most of the rocky stretches of the rivers are point of high activity, be it for washing clothes or picnic and so on and so forth. and also the dumping of the garbage from the towns or the villages, and couple of the sites are next to the temple where there's a effluent or sewage from the temple and surrounding areas have been left into the river where the pseudomularia is found, and they want really clean water without any turbidity or any pollution. So in several places we have seen the species being affected because of the poor water quality. And in a couple of places, we've seen dynamite fishing, uh, not the normal fishing, but the dynamite fishing that is most destructive way of fishing. That also affect the population of pseudomularia and surrounding land use pattern, like conversion of forest into agricultural field or to plantation and so on and so forth. What you can see in Malnad regions of the Western Ghats, where there are a lot of forests have been covered to areca plantation, acacia plantations, and paddy fields. The runoff from these areas are also affecting the population of pseudomularia in the Western Ghats. We are studying this group for last 1 decade, but still we have several questions we are trying to answer. That when do they breed? Nobody knows when do they breed. We suspect it breeds during summer, because most of the rivers during monsoon will be overflowing. The animal probably adapted to breed during summer, given the torrential nature of our rivers. And how many fish species do they parasitize on? One there's a very specific fish, or there are multiple? We don't know. We are trying to understand these questions. And how do they decide where to get attached? So it is just a random choice of a rock to get attached, or there is any other mm, uh, clue they will look for before they get attached to the rocks? This is a very interesting question. One needs to be addressed, because this has got high implications for species recovery or species reintroduction if you want to recover the population. The second example of freshwater mollusk I give is of the crimnoconchus, or what we call as a cliff snail, or freshwater periwinkles. They are very tiny mollusks, less than a centimeter or so, and they belongs to a family called Littorinidae. And most of the members of this family are found in the marine environment, mostly in tropical and subtropical regions of the world. And Crimnoconchus is the only freshwater relatives in otherwise entire marine family. This is very, very interesting, because this one particular genus moved away from salt water into the freshwater and just diversified. Diversified means, there are not one or two species, there may be around 20 to 30 species in the Western Ghats, and it's endemic to the Western Ghats above 12 degree up to 21 degrees. They are not found in Kerala, but only found in Karnataka and Maharashtra regions of the Western Ghats. And interestingly, they are only found in the spray zones of the waterfalls on the western slope of the Western Ghats, not in the eastern slopes. And many species are found only in one waterfall. If you go to the western slope waterfall, you might get this species, and only that waterfall will have that species and nowhere else on this earth. That's why they are called as point endemic. If you do anything to this one waterfalls, you will wipe out this particular species from the face of the earth. They are so endemic. I don't. There are very few such examples where the species is found only in the one location, and nobody knows why they are found only in one location. Why not in the neighboring waterfalls? So yeah, till now there are 9 species have been described, and there may be another 15 to 20 new species to this science, and all of them are found only in the Western Ghats and nowhere else on this earth. And these are the images and the map to show how it is distributed in the central and northern part of the Western Ghats. So this is the okay. You can see the habitat chart where they are found. The cluster of shells when they undergo dormancy during summer season. On the right side, the type locality in Mahabaleshwar, the garbage is let in to the waterfalls, and the type locality is completely polluted, and species is lost from that particular region. And this is how this is where the species is found. If it's a waterfall, there's a spray zone, and in those spray zones, these shells will be attached. They are very, very minute. So we are working on this group for since 2005. That's around 15 years, and 12 to 15 species. New to science, which needs to be described. If that will, once we describe that, then the diversity will go up to almost 25 species in this particular genus in the Western Ghats, which is much higher than any other freshwater mollusk genera in India. So each waterfall in the central Western Ghats has got a separate species. Go to Kudramukh National Park, there's a Hanuman Gundi waterfalls. It has got one species. It's called Chromnoconchus hanumani. If you go to Kadambi, you will have two different species found in the same waterfall. So, and if you go to the northern Western Ghat, Mahabaleshwar has there are 2-3 waterfalls. Will have only one species. So they are so much endemic. And it has got high conservation value because of its unique distribution and unique habitat requirement, and any changes in the upstream of this waterfall, like pollution or land use and land cover change or diversion of water into the plantations or household usage, will have an implication on the species in the waterfall area. So this particular species has got much higher conservation value than the normal other freshwater mollusks of the Western Ghats. So this is just a relationship of different Chromnoconchus in the Western Ghats. As you can see, the red and orange one, the group or a cluster belong to the Maharashtra species, and green and blue cluster belongs to the Karnataka species. So this shows that Maharashtra group is separate from the Karnataka group. They might have evolved much earlier and diversified in these two regions and adapted to the different geology. Okay, these are some of the examples of Chromnoconchus what you can see in our waterfalls. All of them are new to science. This is very interesting. As you can see on the lower panel, that the time tree shows that they evolved around 60 million years back, soon after the Deccan volcanism, from the marine ancestor, and diversified in the northern and the central Western Ghats. And around that time, 65 million years back, as you can see from the lower panel graph, that sea level was much higher than what you can see right now. So sea level was around 90 to 100 meter higher around 65 million years back compared to present day. Probably what might have happened was the species, when the sea level was higher, the species, the ancestor might have moved there, and when the sea level started receding, the species didn't bother to get back to the marine environment, but got stuck within inverted commas, got stuck into the higher reaches of the Western Ghats, and became adapted to the freshwater environment and diversified. So current, as you can see from this graph, the current sea level was much lower than what it was there around 100 million years back. This is probably the most parsimonious explanation of how the species might have come into the freshwater from the marine environment. So these two are very classical examples of very old lineages of freshwater mollusks in the Western Ghats that also have very interesting biogeography and also have very high conservation relevance. So apart from this, there are many other such species which also is very unique. And if you look at the distribution of freshwater in the freshwater environment in the Western Ghats, which is 60% are found in the lotic environment. Lotic environment means the flowing water body like streams and rivers, and 15% are found in the lentic environment, that is lakes, ponds, tanks, marshes, paddy fields, and so on and so forth. And there are some 25% of the species can adapt in both lentic and lotic environment. And as you are all aware that in we have more than 3,000 large dams in India. Even the small streams and rivers have been blocked locally to cater the water for either for the domestic use, industrial use, or for the agricultural purpose. And imagine the 60% of the species found in lotic environment is disturbed. What might happen? They can adapt to the stagnant water condition, and only lentic species can adapt to that. And these requires very clean, fast flowing or a moderately fast flowing streams and rivers with high oxygen concentration and less turbidity for their survival. So any activities in the lotic environment will have a high implication on the survival of the freshwater mollusk adapted to this habitat. So recently, WWF has released Living Planet Index, which shows that freshwater biodiversity has declined significantly compared to marine and terrestrial environment. And you're also witnessing across India, wherever you go, you can see the condition of our aquatic bodies. And this also map shows that how Indian rivers are threatened because of the various aspects. It could be development to population and so on and so forth. So all these have got implication on the survival of the freshwater mollusk. And many species have gone extinct. The percentage of extinct animals since 1600 AD has seen in mollusks compared to any other attacks on this earth. If you consider vertebrates together, higher vertebrates together, the percentage of extinct will be much lesser than the mollusks. And the other issue with our studies on freshwater mollusk is we don't know the current population trend. We don't have historical population trend, and we don't know the ecology of the species, and we don't know the natural history of the species. Hence, many of the species are data deficient. So there is urgent need to study the ecology natural history of and thread to freshwater mollusks of India or of the Western Ghats. And many of these freshwater mollusks have survived the great catastrophe, like Deccan volcanism or meteoritic impact and so forth, which dinosaur has failed to survive because of this large scale catastrophe. So snails have survived this great catastrophe. So snail have won the race. On the other hand, dinosaur had lost the race. So there is very high or urgent need to study, record, list, and understand the species, understand the mollusk population. As you can see from this side, without knowing, not recording, and not listing, there are a lot of species have gone unnoticed, especially in the mollusks. So it's a high time. A lot of people should come together to study this very interesting group of the freshwater environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arvind. And I ask everyone to put their questions in the Q&A box. We'll start with Sukriti, who is asking, what is endemic radiation mentioned in one of your slides?
Yeah, endemic radiation is there are a lot of species in that particular group. So radiation, as radiation means the traditional English word of radiating. Okay, so endemic is the species which is endemic, that is not found anywhere else, but only in particular location. In that location, there's a burst in the species or speciation event has taken place. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Arvind. Then we'll go to Balwant has a question, Balwant Kaur. Why is pseudomularia named so?
Okay. Mullaria was the actual first name of that particular species, which is found in South America. They thought that Indian species is also the same genus, which is found in South America. But later, when they're looking at the shell morphology and the anatomy, they found that though it belongs to the same family, but not the same genus. Hence, they changed it to pseudomularia. That's it.
Thank you so much. We've got a question from YouTube now. Anshuman is asking, what conservation strategies can you recommend we adopt, especially for point endemic species? I think that's a very good question.
Yeah. So, point endemic species, we should go for the habitat conservation measures, like Crimnoconchus, what I was talking about. There are 6 species, all of them are point endemic, and we should make sure that the upstream stretches of the waterfalls or any habitat, the surrounding habitat has to be conserved. No pollution, no habitat degradation, uh, nothing. Everything has to be what is that? Uh, curtailed. Otherwise, even if a slight change in the water quality or the sediment influx to the land use changes will affect the downstream population. So I suggest go for the larger habitat conservation measure rather than the specific microhabitat conservation or a species at the species level conservation.
So, conserving the whole area
The
is
whole
a
area, yeah,
better
larger
idea.
landscape approach for the conservation is the ideal.
Great. So thank you so much. We've got another anonymous question, and they're asking, is it good to have snails in our garden since they chew up leaves?
It depends on what kind of species you want to allow. See, for example, African giant snail is an introduced species. It's not an Indian. Certainly, I don't encourage you to allow them to feed. Like there are few slugs which are also introduced. I don't encourage, because if you allow them to feed on it, they'll increase the population and become nuisance. So for those species which are introduced, most of the pest species what you see in your gardens are introduced, except one or two. Many of them are introduced. So those species, I don't encourage you to allow them to feed on the plant. You just control it. That's it. Either most by hand picking it and killing it. So
Acha,
if
we
it,
have another question from Saudamini.
uh,
Saudamini is not on the call at the moment, but I think some technical issue. But the question is, do we know which genes are responsible for shell and calcite formation for snails? Where did they acquire its gene gain and loss?
I don't know. There might be some research, but I am not aware of this. I don't study biology of this species, so I don't know. There might be some work, especially from Europe and America. They might have looked at the genes responsible for this.
Mhm. So we've got another, thank you so much. We've got another question, anonymous question. They are saying, I have seen some mollusks appear in my planter. I haven't seen them before. I wonder from where they have emerged. Mollusks are of cone shaped and they are not apple snail for sure.
Okay. So there are many ways they can get dispersed. One is when you get the plant from the nursery or from your friend's house, there might be small young ones or eggs probably might have, came along with the plant. That could be the one possible reason. The second possible reason is when you get soil or manure, uh, they might come through that also. These are the two most common ways in which snail get transported, especially land snails. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we'll just wait for another couple of minutes
Okay.
for questions. Um, till then, I have this I have a question on this
Okay.
point endemism. Uh, are there any other groups of species who display this point endemism, which is so specific to like a single location, which is probably only a few hundred square meters or even less?
No, there are examples from the frogs, not few hundred, but maybe several square kilometer area. It all point endemic doesn't mean that it's only a small 100 square meter or less than that. It also depends on the size of the animal and its dispersal capability. There are frogs which are known from one or two locations. There are examples of balsams from the Western Ghats. Balsams are belong to genus called impatiens. They are small, very nice pink colored flowers. Mostly they are found in the waterfalls and those kind of habitat. They also show point endemics, and there may be some other taxa also. Yeah, it is not necessarily restricted to snails, but other taxa also shows the point endemic.
Okay, thank you. So I think Saudafini is back on call and she had asked about genes for shell formation. I just wanted to tell Saudamini that Arvind is not aware of any such studies happening in India,
In India, no.
but there may be some happening on the in some that have happened abroad. So
All right.
I guess the field is open for doing such work
Yeah,
in the
All
yeah.
future.
right. Very nice.
Yeah. So yes, and so there's one more question, anonymous again. What are the ecological implications?
Mm,
You did cover this a bit, but maybe you can talk about this a bit more. If the mollusks in a particular area go extinct.
yeah. They are food for birds and reptiles, uh, and they are rich in calcium. There are studies from Europe, mostly from Europe. They showed that If the snail population goes down, then there is no enough calcium supplement is available for a certain group of birds. So their fecundity rate decreased. So they are very important source of calcium for birds and reptiles. That is one. The second thing is they are the nutrient recyclers, whether the terrestrial environment or in the freshwater environment. They convert organic matter, dead and decaying organic matter, and release it back to the environment. So just like an earthworm, they are also soil engineers. So that is another important ecological, uh, you know, role they play. Mostly calcium supply and the soil engineering stuff. Yeah.
So are they a source of food for humans?
Yes,
Freshwater?
they are. They are. In Northeast India, nearly 20 species of freshwater snails people eat.
Mhm.
They are cheap source of protein and very rich in nutrient like calcium and phosphorus and other stuff. And in coastal areas like in Kerala, Vembanad, if you go, the black clam is extensively harvested. Several hundred tons of clams have been harvested and eaten by humans, and a very cheap and good source of protein, as the protein content is per gram or whatever unit is much higher than the chicken, it seems. So they are very good source of protein. Yeah.
Yes, and many local cuisines like Malwani, Konkani cuisines,
Yes.
we eat.
Correct,
Some
correct.
of
And
snail.
Northeast India, it's a delicacy. They
Okay.
they sell the freshwater mollusk in the market. If you go to Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur,
Mm.
Mizoram, in the local market, you'll get to see, especially women were selling this
Mhm.
freshwater mollusks. Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. So we've got another question from YouTube, and they're asking, is there any evolutionary purpose to the different shapes of mollusk cells? Are they useful for survival or fitness in any way, or is it just incidental?
uh, Obviously it has been selected. There must be some use which I'm not aware of. There are a lot of studies trying to address this, but not there is no one explanation of why they have different forms and shape. For some, it is just a survival strategy. Uh, for some, maybe other stuff which I'm not aware of. So, uh, yeah, not many studies explicitly looked at why there are different forms. Yeah.
So Damini has a question. She's asking about toxic smell snails which emit conotoxins. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Oh, well, I don't have much experience or understanding of conotoxins, but yeah, whatever I know, I can tell. They are highly potent toxins. They are produced only uh, by the cone snail, belong to the family Conidae, and they can kill humans in just 15 minutes flat. And these conotoxins, of late, they started using it for human in humans also. So apart from that, I don't know much. There are a lot of studies happening in US. I think NCBS Professor M. Krishnan did studies about conotoxin, and Professor Balram from former director of IASA have studied. I don't know much about the conotoxin apart from this.
Thank you so much. We've got another question from Srija, and they're asking regarding marine mollusks.
Mhm.
Uh, she says, I have noticed species of mollusks found only in one particular beach. Adjacent beaches have completely different species. Why is that so?
Maybe because of the changes in the microclimatic and microhabitat conditions, like it could be temperature, salinity, the kind of plant the grows there, marine plant, algae, mostly algae, and the wave action, and the micro the other organism which is found the surrounding areas, all these influence the distribution of the species. the microclimatic condition, microhabitat condition, and the association with the other taxa, whether it's a marine or in the freshwater habitat or in the terrestrial. You can see the similar pattern. Yeah.
Thank you. And Shrida also has another question. She had seen very small crabs inside of clams. Is there some association?
The hermit crabs, I don't know whether she's talking about the hermit crabs. There's a crab of the group called as a hermit. They always take shelter inside the what is that, dead shells. When the mollusk is dead, the shell is empty, they'll go and occupy that and use it, maybe for the protection purpose. I have not seen any crab inside the live clam. No, as I told him, I don't have much experience in the marine group, and that's a totally different. It's a gold mine. I have very little understanding about the marine environment. Yeah.
Thanks so much. And I think we'll go to our last question of the day. And from Saudamini, it's more of a request is, could you tell us, and I think it's a because field biology, the most interesting thing are the stories and the experiences. So do you have any interesting, unforgettable story about any of your field trips, which you can share with us?
Well, there are many, related to mollusk or generally about. See,
Generally something fun.
Well, when we are looking at the snails, I also work on birds and butterfly. I used to work on that. We have been chased by the elephant. We are on the trees in the next second, and we are studying the plants in BRT. They're right above my or below my hand. The saw-scaled pit viper. Just few inches below my hand, looking curiously at me. Bitten by hundreds of ticks and leeches while sampling for snails and birds in BRT. There are plenty of such things, which is unforgettable. Whole body will be covered with ticks, and next 15 days we can't do anything. It's all blisters on our body. Okay. So yeah, so many such experiences we have.
Okay, so
every day is a new day for us, in the field. We can't anticipate, what will happen, and and we sometimes we traveled 400 kilometers in one stretch, collecting every now and then in the central and the northern western Ghats, and covering different type of habitat, different type of water bodies, and different type of vegetation, meeting different kind of people. So all these are for fun and learning experience for us, as a field biologist.
Of course. And just we've got one more question that just came in, and then we'll stop at that. Sukriti is asking, can we try to introduce point endemic species to places that maintain the same microenvironmental conditions like their natural habitat, and see if they survive? Interesting question. I'd like to know.
Yeah. This is very, very interesting. Once, see, we have not tried. I think it is worth trying. Whether, first of all, we need to identify whether there is a similar kind of habitat exists outside this or not. One. The second thing is to understand the ecology and natural history of this species. Without that, it is you just cannot pick and go and introduce somewhere else. So third is actually doing some sort of a what is that, captive kind of an experiment in the similar kind of habitat. And it's a very good question, and it is certainly should be tried, because we don't know, given India's development pace and kind of environmental issues, what is happening in India, we don't know what will happen to our the terrestrial and aquatic resources. Certainly we need to try. We need a lot of funding for this, and a lot of manpower also to do this. And I think this is certainly a good thing to do. I certainly encourage somebody to take up this and try it, whether it works or not. Even if it works, what's the level of success? It is 100% success or 5% or what it is. Certainly, it's a very good thing to do for the long-term survival.
Thank you. And with that, we will be ending today's talk.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much, Dr. Aravind, for
Thank you.
providing a very interesting and insightful
Yeah.
talk on a group of organisms that have not been paid much attention to
Yeah.
and very much need attention. I'll just ask Professor Saudamini to say a few words and then we will conclude.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Aravind Madhyastha, for a very interesting talk, for your sharing some of your unforgettable stories, and also sharing some of the discovery of new species of snails in the Western Ghats. And it's very important that we are aware of it, and also how humans can sometimes knowingly or unknowingly affect their population and their survival. Very useful to know. And I wish to also thank my co-host Samir Padi for introducing this very nice topic, and the speaker for the session for today. And I also wish to thank the communications team and NCBS for supporting this Outside In seminar. And next week, we will have a talk which is by Dr. David Bilton from the University of Plymouth. And what he's going to talk about is on the story of water beetles. And the talk, however, is going to be at 5 p.m. so that it is a civilized time at the UK for him. And he's from Plymouth University. So until then, please take care. And we will see you next week at 5 p.m.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you so much. This talk
Yeah.
will be on YouTube. Please go on to our YouTube channel, Blisk India,
Yeah.
and share this talk with all your friends as well.
Sure.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
and have a